Hello, everyone. So we are going to start working on the Word portion of the flashcard program. And to begin with, I'm going to have to first let you know one of the intentions of this is that this window is almost always going to be called from the Manage Lexicon window, not from a regular menu. But I do want the ability to call it from a regular menu if we want to do that later. In fact, when we do call it from a regular window, we're going to basically be using that for editing specific words. So one of the first things we'll want to do is come in here and give us the ability to differentiate between the types that will come in. So we're going to do a public static variable, and it's going to be a Boolean. And we're just going to call this one launched from manage lexicon, and we're going to set that to false. If it is true, however, we will make some changes, and I'll show you how we're going to link that here in a second. And then another variable that we're going to need is another static bool that is going to be called edit mode, and that's going to also start off as false. And we will switch edit mode on when we actually are trying to edit a specific word instead of saving the values and creating a new word from scratch type of a thing. So this is the first thing that we're going to do, is we're going to have this information come in. Next up, we're going to need some variables that we can pass from the managed lexicon over here. One of the things that we're going to do is we're going to pass in the language. So it's going to be a string, and we're going to call this string the lexicon language, and we'll set it to nothing right now to start with. We will fill this out when we do it. When we look here, we can also see that the word or phrase that somebody types in might need to get passed in too. So what we'll do is another string for that. And this is going to be the lexicon word. Once again, we'll set it to blank. Now, why did I put these in here like this, and why are they public statics? Well, let's go back to the lexicon again with the design tab here. We're going to create words when we click on the add button. So we're going to double click on add here so that we'll create this, and then we'll come back and we'll double click on this add. Both of the adds are going to be doing the same thing. The only difference is that one of them is passing through the language of the lexicon, which you can see here, the lexicon side. The other one is passing through the language of the translation side. The word here doesn't care which one it is. It just needs to know a language to choose. So we'll come back to this. And basically all we need to do is create a variable, and it can go to its own method that will call this, and the method just needs to take in a simple variable. So what we'll do is we'll call this a private, because it's not going to return anything. It'll be a void, and this will be open word window, and it's going to need a string, and that string is going to be the language sent. We'll do this, and we'll come back down to here, and when it's the lexicon word, all we have to do is we say open word window, and it's going to be the currently selected language, which is up here in the lexicon combo box. So it'll be the C box lexicon languages dot selected item. And we'll do this to string to make sure that's going through correctly. We can just copy this, come down here and paste it, and then instead of the lexicon, this will be the target language. So we'll save that really quick. Okay. So what we'll do in here is we'll set up our regular window, and we're going to launch it just like we do normal. We're going to do manage word, and that's going to be a new word form, and that's going to be a new manage word. So this part will come up just like normal, and we can even put in the show dialog response here. But the reason why we created the static variables is that before we do this part here, we can actually add some different things. I can come in here and say manage word dot launched from manage lexicon, and that's going to be true. I can do manage word, and we're going to say lexicon language is going to be the language sent. So whatever is sent from here is going to be the language that will appear on here. We can also then put in the managed word, and we're going to put in the lexicon word, and that is going to be whatever is in our text box. So we're going to need to include the text box as well. Let me go ahead and put this in. So that means we're also going to need a new string here. This other string is going to be word sent. We'll say that. And when we come back here, after this, we can put in a comma. And for the lexicon word, we can just do the text, and it's going to be the search lexicon word dot text. Come down here, and it's going to be the same thing, the text search target word dot text. And that is going to be then added here for word sent. We'll take off the comment. And now when we load the window, it will include that data. Of course, in order to see it, we need to actually hook this up over here. So one of the things that we can do is after we initialize, let's go ahead and update the label that is the word language and the text, and it actually auto-completed for us. It's going to be the language, the lexicon language, and we can put in the text box for the word or phrase, and that's going to be the lexicon word. However, we only want to show this if launched from managed lexicon is true. So we'll put that in and come to the beginning of the line here, put that in, get to there, and do that. So let's save this and let's run this. So here we go, the window pops up, we come over, we select the user, come down to here, go to database, we go to manage lexicon. Let's pull this over here. We'll select English here, and we'll only use this side for now. We'll test this side out later, but we can do test, and then we can click add. Now this comes up here, and you can see the language is English, the test or phrase is test. So it added it the way we wanted. Now we can close out of here. We can come up here and we can check Spanish, and we can do examine. We click add, and it comes up and it says Spanish, and the word that we're adding is examine. So this is functioning exactly like we wanted it to. And I know what you might be thinking. Hey, Peter, we saw that Arabic was on that list and you intentionally did not pick it. That is true. That's because, of course, we have to handle the right to left side of the text. And so we'll come back in here really quick. And just to show you where this is stored, if you click on the text box, you come over here, you can see that right to left is a value in here. But it's not like a Boolean. It's actually a no, yes, or inherent. But we're going to use this as a Boolean. So if it's yes, it's going to be true, and if it's no, it's going to be false. That's how we've got it set up. So to handle this, the first thing we're going to need to do is make sure that these buttons cannot be opened unless there is a language that has been selected. Then we're going to need to pull that language in and see whether it is left to right or right to left. And then we'll have to pass that information to the managed word. So let's do this one step at a time. So first, if the combo box for lexicon languages selected index is not equal to -1, then we will send this information. If it is equal to -1, we'll ignore it, but it has to have something actually selected. And it's going to be the same thing here, except instead of lexicon, it's going to be target languages down here. Select index again, -1, come down here, boom. So now the user will have to actually select an item. Once they've selected that item, which is going to be the language either in this box or this box, then we're going to need to grab from that value whether or not the language is left to right. And we are reading that information in and storing it in the all languages field. So let's go ahead and create a function here. It's going to be a private function. It will return a Boolean value, and it will be called setBool for right to left. And we're going to need a string for language checked to be entered into it. So what we will do is we will send in the language. We'll loop through all of the languages and see if that one is set with the right to left. So it will be for int I is 0, I is less than all languages dot count I plus plus. So all we need to do at this point is to check. So if the language checked is going to be the same as all languages of index I dot language name, then we have found the correct language. And at this point, we need to pull in the value from the right to left. So we return all languages dot I dot right to left. And remember, we're storing these as the Boolean already, so we don't need to convert this at this point. And if we find nothing, so if it goes through all those items and doesn't return an actual value, we will just return false, because the default is going to be that it is false no matter what, because most languages are left to right, not right to left. So once we have that value, we need to send that over to the other form. So we're going to need to include this Boolean, and this is going to be right to left bool. We'll just call it that. And of course, then we're going to need to come over to manage word, and we're going to need to add that in here. And it's going to be a public static Boolean. Language is right to left, and we're going to default again to false. We'll save that. We'll come back over here, and we're going to do manage word dot language is right to left, and that's going to be right to left bool. So again, this is what we're passing into here. That does mean we now need to include that here. But that's easy enough to do. All we have to do is call our function here, set bool for right to left. So we put the C box lexicon languages dot selected item, and that's going to be to string. I think I need another parentheses there. There we go. So let's go ahead and copy this bit here, and we're going to paste that down here as well. Paste, and of course we update this from lexicon to target down here. We'll save that. So this will pass that information on, but we also still need to include it in managed lexicon. Right now, we don't have any place where we update that text. So to get that, we double click on here. It will load into this. We'll come back and we'll double click on this. And just like before, when we have a selected change in the list box, we can do the same thing with the combo box. So again, the first thing we want to check is to make sure that the C box lexicon languages dot selected index is not equal to -1. If it is equal to -1, we can just ignore it. Once again, we can copy this and put it into here and change this from the lexicon to the target language. Then what we'll do at this point is we'll need to pull the value of the language that's selected. So that's going to be setting the Boolean up here. So basically all we have to do is we call set bool for right to left. We're going to pass in the selected item to string exactly like this. So it's the same exact thing what we did up here. And so we can actually even just copy this, copy and paste here. And this will set the Boolean, but we need to actually then update. Instead of having the semicolon, what we're going to do is we're going to say if set Boolean like this, put that into this, that will return either true or false. So if it is true, then we want the text search lexicon word dot right to left to equal right to left dot yes. Otherwise, we put in the same thing with this value set to no. And the same thing that we just put here, we will again put down here. So paste that in, do this, and we're going to copy this, put that in, but instead of the lexicon word, again, it's going to be the target word. And then we'll put in the else down here, which is this part again, set to no. So then we can save that. Now, when we run this, it should have everything updated. So when we change the index in the combo box, it will automatically change the text box to be right to left or left to right, depending on which one it should be. So let's go ahead and pull this up. We'll hit my name on this, load user, and then with this up, we can go to database. We can go to manage lexicon and pull this over. And now if we select Arabic and we type in, you can see the text is now going from right to left. And if I come back and change it to English, it's going from left to right again. And we can check this box here to make sure that it's doing the same thing. And that one's not. So let's make sure where the typo was on here. So we gotta make sure, oh, here's the issue. This here, we forgot to update this. Should be the target languages. So we'll save that again. Now when we run it, it should work. So again, this side, we'll check Arabic. That's right. Change it to English, and that's correct. Now that we know Manage Lexicon is up to date, let's go back to Manage Word. We're going to be getting this value passed incorrectly. So now all we have to do is, while we're doing this, and we want to make sure it is when it's launched for Manage Lexicon, we can add in the same thing that we just did above. So we'll say if language is right to left, then text, word, or phrase dot right to left is right to left dot yes, else text, word, or phrase dot right to left is right to left dot no. So we'll save that. Now when we run, it should pass through the variables exactly like we were expecting. So we'll hit this, go to database, manage lexicon, pull this down. Let's go ahead and select Arabic, attest, we hit this, and you can see it's on the right to left. Now we can come back. If we go and switch this to English and we hit that, it comes up and it's passed through correctly. So we are now handling the correct version of right to left and left to right. That means that next up will be time for us to save the data in and manipulate it and get all of the connections in the lexicon. Those we'll start doing in the next video.